Trying to do what's best by nature is a guessing game with long-term stakes. Good decisions mean that the soil and water will prosper. The trees will prosper. The wild things will prosper. In that natural prospering, all of us will become wealthier in richer dawn choruses and endless golden sunsets. The investment is called legacy. If I can see, feel, touch, and smell these things once more on a piece of land I can call my own, I'll be home again. So maybe there's still hope. Home, after all, is more than a place on a map. It's a place in the heart.
But we are given only so many land-loving cycles by the muscular machine that beats in our chests. It will inevitably fail us all. Heroic efforts and technology only temporarily prolong what none of us can escape. I know now that the water flowing from the spring was clear and sparkling lifeblood of the home place, the man-made pump heart pushing sustenance through the network of plastic pipe arteries to the organs that depended on it.
Remembering, dreaming, contemplating, even commiserating, land is always somehow on my mind. I think this is because I'm missing the land from which I came, the pastures, fields, woods, creeks, and bottoms of my home place. Land in the middle of nowhere that meant everything to me.
Depending on the day, I claim different labels spiritually. They run the gamut from atheist to Zen. I'm not sure any of them really matter. What does matter, I've expanded the walls of my spiritual existence beyond the pews and pulpit to include longleaf savannas, salt marshes, cove forests, and tallgrass prairie. The miracles for me are in migratory journeys and moonlit nights. Swan song is sacred. Nature seems worthy of worship.
And so I set out to learn more about him, like how, as a forest ranger in the Southwest in the early 1900s, his conservation philosophy was sparked by the sight of a dying wolf he'd shot while deer hunting. He explained that hunters believed then that, quote, fewer wolves meant more deer, unquote, and ultimately a hunter's paradise. But the fierce green fire that Leopold watched fade from the doomed wolf's eyes would ignite the formation of what he called the land ethic, a way of thinking that simply enlarges the boundaries of the community to include soils, water, plants and animals, or collectively, the land.
And so I think about land. But more and more, I also think about how other Black and brown folks think about land. I wonder how our lives would change for the better if the ties to places weren't broken by bad memories, misinformation, and ignorance. I think about school children playing in safe, clean, green spaces where the water and air flow clear and the birdsong sounds sweet.
Many vegetarians claim that their heads lie easier at night, knowing that they've inflicted no killing or suffering. But the soybeans that yield tofu have to grow somewhere, and it's not all in hydroponic, solar-powered hothouses. No, the neat and tidy rows of soybeans and amber waves of grain grow in fields that used to be wildlife habitat. These crops do indeed bear the blood, but differently, in altered habitat, displaced wildlife, chemical runoff, transportation costs, and greenhouse gases emitted in food conversion. The ethics of food are never uncomplicated.
We humans put ourselves on a pedestal. The imperative is the same, though survive, eat, and reproduce. Throw in emotion and things get complicated. We judge and stereotype and hate and love. I will never be completely wild, never truly leave the domesticated old where expectation and feelings rule. The wild things and place belongs to all of us. So while I can't fix the bigger problems of race in the United States, can't suggest a means by which I and others like me will always feel safe, I can prescribe a solution in my own small corner.
My colleagues and I have mostly done a poor job of reaching the hearts and minds of those who don't hold advanced degrees with an ology at the end. We take a multidimensional array of creatures, places, and interwoven lives and boil them down into the flat pages and prose of obscure journals most will never read. These tomes are important, but the sin is in leaving the words to die there, pressed between the pages. As knowledge molders in the stacks, the public goes on, largely uninformed about the wild beings and places that should matter to all of us. Science's tendency to make the miraculous mundane is like replacing the richest artistry with paint-by-number portraits. We must rediscover the art in conservation and reorient towards doing and not talking.
Within the past couple of years, I've given fewer and fewer p-value presentations. More and more, I find myself taking the hard data and wrapping it in genuine caring. The science is critical. It is the scripture. It always comes first. But action has to come behind it. I try to connect the conservation dots.
More and more, I think of land, not just in remote, desolate wilderness, but in inner city parks and suburban backyards and community gardens. I think of land and all it brings in my life. I think of land and hope that others are thinking about it too.